So I have the Urantia book. So today I'm going to be going over the Urantia book. And it's a big book. It's over 2,000 pages long. But I'm just going to be reading the first part of it because I'm trying to get familiar with this book. So there's a lot going on in this book. Just to let you know, it talks about the central and super universes, the local universe, the history of Urantia, the life and teachings of Jesus. And in that it has a lot of different things involved in that. So I'm going to get right into it. In the minds of the mortals of Urantia, that being the name. Okay, this is the foreword. In the minds of the mortals of Urantia, that being the name of your world, this world, Earth, Urantia, there exists great confusion respecting the meaning of such terms as God, divinity, and deity. Human beings are still more confused and uncertain about the relationships of the divine personalities designated by these numerous appellations. Appellations mean titles, names. Because of this conceptual poverty associated with so much ideational confusion, I have been directed to formulate this introductory statement and explanation of the meanings which should be attached to certain word symbols as they may be hereinafter used in those papers which the Orvanton Corps of Truth Revealers had been authorized to translate into the English language of Urantia. It is exceedingly difficult to present enlarged concepts and advanced truth in our endeavor to expand cosmic consciousness and enhance spiritual perception when we are restricted to the use of a circumscribed language of the realm. But our mandate admonishes us to make every effort to convey our meanings by using the word symbols of the English tongue. We have been instructed to introduce new terms only when the concept to be portrayed finds no terminology in English which can be employed to convey such a new concept, partially or even with more or less distortion of meaning, in the hope of facilitating comprehension and or preventing confusion on the part of every mortal who may peruse these papers. We deem it wise to present in this initial statement an outline of the meaning to be attached to numerous English words, which are to be employed in designation of deity and certain associated concepts of the things, meanings, and values of universal reality. But in order to formulate this foreword of definitions and limitations of terminology, it is necessary to anticipate the usage of these terms in the subsequent presentations. This foreword is not therefore a finished statement within itself. It is only a definitive guide designated or designed to assist those who shall read the accompanying papers dealing with deity in the universe of universes, which have been formulated by an Orvanton commission sent to Urantia for this purpose. Okay, so this is where it gets into the very interesting stuff. Your world, Urantia, which is Earth, but it's Urantia according to whoever wrote this book, is one of many similar inhabited planets which comprise the local universe of Nebadon. This universe, together with similar creations, make up the super universe of Orvanton, from whose capital Uversa our commission hails. Orvanton is one of the 7 evolutionary superuniverses of time and space which circle the never-beginning, never-ending creation of divine perfection, the central universe of Havana. Havona. At the heart of this eternal and central universe is the stationary Isle of Paradise, the geographic center of infinity and the dwelling place of the eternal God. The 7 evolving super-universes in association with the central and divine universe we commonly refer to as the grand universe. These are the now organized and inhabited creations. They are now all part of the master universe, which also embraces the uninhabited but mobilized universes of outer space, which is very interesting. Oh, this seems like something from Star Trek or Star Wars or some stuff like this, but this is all very interesting. I don't really know what to make of this yet. I'm just getting into it. I don't know, but this is very interesting. I don't know what to make of this yet. I'm just starting. Okay, deity and divinity. Deity and divinity. 1. The universe of universes presents phenomena of deity activities on diverse levels of cosmic realities, mind meanings, and spirit values. But all of these ministrations, personal or otherwise, are divinely coordinated. Deity is personalized. Now they have deity capitalized. All capital letters. Is personalizable as God. Is pre-personal. What do I mean by pre-personal? Pre-personal and super-personal in ways not altogether comprehensible by man. Deity is characterized by the quality of unity, actual or potential. So what do they mean by this? Deity is personalizable as God. So we recognize deity as God. Is pre-personal and super-personal. Is super-personal for us in ways not altogether comprehensible by man. So we can't comprehend completely the full extent of God. Deity is characterized by the quality of unity, actual or potential. So we are one with God, but actual or potential because not everyone believes. So it's potential. The potential is there for people to understand that we are one with God. But in actuality, we are. So maybe that's what they're saying. On all supermaterial levels of reality. And this unifying quality is best comprehended by creatures as divinity. Deity functions on personal, pre-personal, and super-personal levels. Total deity is functional on the following 7 levels. Static, self-contained, and self-existence deity. Potential, self-willed, and self-purposive deity. self-purposive deity. Self-purposive deity. That's self-willed, so self-purpose. Self-willed and self-purpose. Self-purposive deity. Associative, self-personalized, and divinely fraternal deity. Creative, self-distributive, and divinely revealed deity. Evolutional, self-expansive, and creature-identified deity. Supreme, self-experiential, and creator unifying deity. So what this is saying is it's self-contained and it's self-existent, so it doesn't need anything else to exist. Now, this is the same thing the Nag Hammadi scripture talks about in the book of John. It's self-contained and it's self-existent. It doesn't need anything else to exist. It's self-willed, so it wills it by itself. It's self-purposed, and it has its own purpose by itself. It doesn't need anything else to have a purpose. It's self-personalized. It has its own personality all by itself. It doesn't need anything else to have a personality. It's divinely revealed. It's its own revelation. Self-expansive. It can expand itself if it needs to, if it wants to. Creature identified. It's identified by itself. Supreme, self-experiential. In other words, it experiences itself all by itself. Creature to creature creator, unifying deity. So it understands its creation, but it's the creator of the creation, but it's unified with the creation. Deity functions on first creature identificational level as time-space over-controllers of the grand universe, sometimes designated the supremacy of deity. Ultimate self-projected and time-space transcending deity. Deity omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Deity functioning on the second level of unifying divinity, expression as effective over-controllers and absonite upholders of the master universe, as compared with the ministry of the deities to the grand universe. This absonite function in the master universe is tantamount to universal over-control and super-sustenance, sometimes called the ultimacy of deity. Okay, I need to look up some of these words because some of this I don't understand. What is absonite? The absonite level of reality is characterized by things and beings without beginnings or endings and by the transcendence of time and space. Absoniters are not created, they are eventuated, they simply are. The deity level of ultimacy connotes a function in relation to the absonite realities. Okay. That's interesting. So, absonite upholders of the master universe, as compared with the ministry of the deities to the grand universe. This absonite function in the master universe is tantamount to universal over-control and super-sustenance, sometimes called the ultimacy of divinity. Okay. The finite level of reality is characterized by creature life and time-space limitations. Finite realities may not have endings, but they always have beginnings. They are created. The deity level of supremacy may be conceived as a function in relation to finite existences. Now, if you cross-reference all of this with the book of John, this is exactly what the book of John talks about in the Nag Hammadi scriptures. Now, not the book of John. No, I'm sorry. Wrong book. Yeah, it is the book of John. We cross-reference this. I asked if I might understand this, and it said to me, the one is the sovereign that has nothing over it. It is God and parent, Father of the all, the invisible one that is over the all. No, it is the one is the sovereign that has nothing over it. It is God and parent, Father of the all, the invisible one that is over the all, that is incorruptible, that is pure light at which no eye can gaze. The one is the invisible spirit. We should not think of it as a god or like a god, for it is greater than a god, because there is nothing over it, and no Lord above it. It does not exist within anything inferior to it, since everything exists within it. For it established itself. It is eternal, since it does not need anything, for it is absolutely complete. It has never lacked anything in order to be complete by it. Rather, it is also absolutely complete in light. The one is illimitable, since there is nothing before it to limit it. Unfathomable, since there is nothing before it to fathom it. Immeasurable, since there was nothing before it to measure it. Invisible, since nothing has seen it. Eternal, since it exists eternally. Unutterable, since nothing could comprehend it to utter it. Unnameable, since there is nothing before it to give it a name. The one is the immeasurable light, pure, holy, immaculate. It is unutterable and is perfect in incorruptibility. Not that it is just perfection or blessedness or divinity is much greater. The one is not corporeal and is not incorporeal. The one is not large and is not small. It is impossible to say. How much is it? What kind is it? For no one can understand it. So it goes on, but that's basically the same thing that it's basically talking about here. So the finite level of reality is characterized by creature, life, and time-space limitations. Finite realities may not have endings, but they always have beginnings. They are created. The deity level supremacy may be conceived as a function in reality to finite existences. Okay, so let me read this again. I gotta read this again. The finite level of reality, which is, I guess, where we are, is characterized by creature life and time-space limitations. So that would be where we are right now. Finite realities may not have endings, but they always have beginnings. They are created. The deity level of supremacy may be conceived as a function in relation to finite existences. So God, as we see him, would be in direct relation to where we are. So what it's basically saying is that we were designed to always understand that we and us and this earth and this existence was created eternally by some force, by some other existence, by some other higher being. We were created and designed to understand worship, or to understand there was some higher power, there was some higher existence, there was some higher power that must have created all of us, because we couldn't just poof and suddenly we just exist. There was a higher power that created all of this into existence, which everyone across the board agrees with that statement, that yes, we were created by some otherworldly power. Nobody is denying that. According to these books, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocrypha, the Bible, even this book, the Urantia Book, nobody's denying that something created all this. Okay, so the Absonite level. Now, remember we said Absonite means that they stand alone. This being, this energy, this absolute, it stands alone. It doesn't need anything to be what it is. This Absonite level of reality is characterized by things and beings without beginnings or endings, and by the transcendence of time and space. Absoniters are not created, they are eventuated, they simply are. The deity level of ultimacy connotes a function in relation to Absonite realities, no matter in what part of the master universe, whenever time and space are transcended. Such an Absonite phenomenon is an act of the ultimacy of deity. So, no matter what part of the master universe, whenever time and space are transcended, whenever time and space is whatever is beyond time and space, such as an Absonite phenomenon is an act of ultimacy of deity. So, whatever you can fathom, which is outside of time and space, if you could think of something higher and beyond time and space, you can most assuredly understand that the ultimacy of deity is behind and beyond time and space itself. The absolute level is beginningless. The absolute level is beginningless, endless, timeless, and spaceless. For example, on Paradise, time and space are non-existent. The time-space status of Paradise is absolute. This level is Trinity attained existentially by the Paradise deities, but the third level of unifying deity expression is not fully unified experientially, whenever, wherever, and however the absolute level of deity functions, Paradise absolute values and meanings are manifest. Deity may be existential, as in the eternal Son, experiential as in the Supreme Being, associative as in God the Sevenfold, undivided as in the Paradise Trinity. Deity is the source of all that which is divine. Deity is characteristically and invariably divine, but all that which is divine is not necessarily deity. though it will be coordinated with deity and will tend towards some phase of unity with deity, spiritual, mindal, or personal. Divinity is a characteristic, unifying, and coordinating quality of deity. Divinity is creature comprehensible as truth, beauty, and goodness, correlated in personality as love, mercy, and ministry, disclosed on impersonal levels as justice, power, and sovereignty. Divinity may be perfect, complete as on existential and creator levels of paradise, perfection. It may be imperfect as on experiential and creator levels of time-space evolution, or it may be relative, neither perfect nor imperfect, as on certain Havana levels of existential experiential relationships. When we attempt to conceive of perfection in all phases and forms of relativity, we encounter 7 conceivable types. Absolute perfection in all aspects. 2, absolute perfection in some phases and relative perfection in all other aspects. 3, absolute, relative, and imperfect aspects in varied associations. 4, absolute perfection in some respects, imperfection in all others. 5, absolute perfection in no direction, relative perfection in all manifestations. 6, absolute perfection in no phase, relative in some, imperfect in others. 7, absolute perfection in no attribute, imperfection in all. God, number 2. Evolving mortal creatures experience an irresistible urge to symbolize their finite concepts of God. Man's consciousness of moral duty and his spiritual idealism represent a value level, an experiential reality which is difficult of symbolization. That's hard to say that word. Cosmic consciousness implies the recognition of a first cause, the one and only uncaused reality. God, the Universal Father, functions on 3 deity personality levels of some infinite value and relative divinity expression. 1, pre-personal, as in the ministry of the Father fragments such as the thought adjusters. What is that talking about? I don't know what it's talking about. Personal, as in the evolutionary experience of created and procreated beings. 3, superpersonal, as in the eventuated existence of a certain absentite and associated beings. God is a word symbol designating all personalities of deity. The term requires a different definition on each personal level of deity function and must be still further redefined within each of these levels, as this term may be used to designate the diverse coordinate and subordinate personalities of deity. For example, the Paradise Creator's sons, the local universe fathers. The term God, as we make use of it, may be understood by designation as God the Father, by context as when used in the discussion of some one deity level or association. When in doubt as to the exact interpretation of the word God, it would be advisable to refer to it to the person of the Universal Father. The term God always denotes personality. Deity may or may not refer to divinity personalities. The term God always denotes personality. Deity may or may not refer to divinity personality. So, what it's saying is we refer to this deity as God, but deity may not respond to him or herself or deity as God, right? But we call it God. Okay. The word God is used in these papers with the following meanings. God the Father, creator, controller, and upholder, the universal Father, the first person of deity. God the Son, coordinated creator, spirit controller, and spiritual administrator, the eternal Son, the second person of deity. God the Spirit, conjoint actor, universal integrator, and mind bestower, the infinite Spirit, the third person of deity. 4. God the Supreme, the actualizing or evolving God of time and space. Personal deity associatively realizing the time-space experiential achievement of creature-creator identity. The Supreme Being is personally experiencing the achievement of deity unity as the evolving and experiential God of the evolutionary creatures of time and space. 5. God the Sevenfold. Deity personality anywhere actually functioning in time and space. The personal paradise deities and their creative associates functioning in and beyond the borders of the central universe and power personalizing as a supreme being on the first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. This level of the grand universe is the sphere of the time-space, the ascension of paradise personalities, and reciprocal association with the time-space ascension of evolutionary creatures. Okay, God the Sevenfold. Hold on a minute. We're going to go back to the book of John. We're going to go back to the book of John. And we're going to go back to the book of John. Let's see. 4 luminaries. But there were 12 there, the 12 aeons. I was looking to see if they had something with the 7, but they don't have anything with the 7 there. There was no 7 in the book of John, so I don't know what they're referring to. They're referring to something else. The sevenfold, I'm not sure what they're referring to there. Okay, well, it's something different. God the ultimate, the eventuating God of super time and transcendent space, the second experiential level of unifying deity manifestation. God the ultimate implies the attained realization of the synthesized absonite superpersonal time-space transcendent and eventuated experiential values coordinated on final creative levels of deity reality. Number 7, God the Absolute, the experientializing God of transcending superpersonal values and divinity meetings now existential as the deity absolute. This is the third level of unifying deity expression and expansion. On the super creative level, deity experiences exhaustion of personalizable potential, encounters completion of divinity, and undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other personalization. Deity now encounters, impinges upon, and experiences identity with the unqualified absolute. That's a lot to go through. That's a lot to go through. Number 3, the first source and center. Total infinite reality is existential in 7 phases and 7 coordinated absolutes. The first source and center, the second source and center, the third source and center, the Isle of Paradise, the deity absolute, the universal absolute, the unqualified absolute. God is the first source and center, is primal in relation to total reality, unqualifiedly. The first source and center is infinite as well as eternal and is therefore limited or conditioned only by volition. God, the universal Father, is the personality of the first source and center, and as such maintains personal relations of infinite control over all coordinate and subordinate sources and centers. Such control is personal and infinite in potential, even though it may never actually function owing to the perfection of the function of such coordinate and subordinate sources and centers and personalities. The first source and center is therefore primal in all domains, deified or undeified, personal or impersonal, actual or potential, finite or infinite. No thing or being, no relativity or finality exists except in direct or indirect relation to and their dependence on the primacy of the first source and center. Okay, the first source and center is therefore primal in all domains, deified or undeified, personal or impersonal, actual or so whether you deify him or not, whether you look at him as a god or not, he is primal in all domains. He is the first. He is the first, regardless of whether you look at him as God or not. He is the first. He is it. He is the all. He is it, regardless of whether you deify him or not. Deified or undeified, personal or impersonal, actual or potential, finite or infinite. No thing or being, no relativity or finality exists except in direct or indirect relation to and dependence on the primacy of the first source and center. The first source and center is related to the universe as the gravity force. The gravity forces of the material universes are convergent in the gravity center of nether paradise. That is just why the geographic location of his person is eternally fixed in absolute relation to the force energy center of the nether or material plane of paradise, but the absolute personality of deity exists on the upper or spiritual plane of paradise. 2. The mind forces are convergent in the infinite spirit, the differential and divergent cosmic mind in the 7 master spirits, the factualizing mind of the Supreme as a time-space experience in Majestan. 3. The universal spirit forces are convergent in the eternal Son. 4. The unlimited capacity for deity action resides in the deity absolute. 5. The unlimited capacity for infinity response exists in the unqualified absolute. 6. The two absolutes, qualified and unqualified, are coordinated and unified in by the universal absolute. 7. The potential personality of an evolutionary moral being of or any other moral being is centered in the personality of the universal Father. So, which basically means is everything that ever could possibly exist, everything that exists, everything that could exist, exists because and in the universal absolute and the universal Father. In and because of the universal Father, the absolute. Reality as comprehended by finite beings, not infinite beings, but finite beings, is partial, relative, and shadowy. The maximum deity reality, fully comprehensible by evolutionary finite creatures, is embraced within the Supreme Being. Nevertheless, there are antecedent and eternal realities, superfinite realities, which are ancestral to the supreme deity of evolutionary time-space creatures. In attempting to portray the origin and nature of universal reality, we are forced to employ the technique of time-space reasoning in order to reach the level of the finite mind. Therefore, must many of the simultaneous events of eternity be presented as sequential transactions. As a time-space creature would view the origin and differentiation of reality, the eternal and infinite I Am achieved deity liberation from the fetters of unqualified infinity through the exercise of inherent and eternal free will. And this divorcement from unqualified infinity produced the first absolute divinity tension. This tension of infinity differential is resolved by the universal absolute, which functions to unify and coordinate the dynamic infinity of total deity and the static infinity of the unqualified absolute. In the original transaction, the theoretical I Am achieved the realization of personality by becoming the eternal Father of the original Son, being Jesus, simultaneously with becoming the eternal source of the Isle of Paradise. Coexistence with the differentiation of the Son from the Father, and in the presence of paradise there appeared the Son of the Infinite Spirit in the central universe of Havana. With the appearance of coexistent personal deity, the eternal Son and the Infinite Spirit, the Father escaped as a personality from otherwise inevitable diffusion throughout the potential of total deity. Thenceforth, it is only in Trinity associated with him, two deity equals, that the Father feels all deity potential. While increasingly experiential deity is being actualized on the divinity levels of supremacy, ultimacy, and absoluteness. The concept of the I Am is a philosophic concession which we make to the time-bound, space-fettered, finite mind of man to the impossibility of creature, comprehension of eternity existences, non-beginning, non-ending realities, and relationships to the time-space creature. All things must have a beginning, save only the one uncaused, the primeval cause of causes. Therefore do we conceptualize this philosophic value level as the I Am, at the same time instructing all creatures that the eternal Son and the Infinite Spirit are co-eternal with the I Am. In other words, that there never was a time when the I Am was not the Father of the Son and with him of the Spirit. Let's read that again. Therefore, do we conceptualize this philosophic value level that the I Am at the same time instructing all creatures that the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit are co-eternal with the I Am. In other words, that there never was a time when the I Am was not the Father of the Son and with him of the Spirit. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with him, and the Word was him. The infinite is used to denote the fullness, the finality implied by the primacy of the first source and center. The theoretical I Am is a creature philosophic extension of the infinity of will, but the infinite is an actual value level representation, representing the eternity intention of the true infinity of the absolute and unfettered free will of the universal Father. This concept is sometimes designated the Father infinite. Most of the confusion of all orders of being is high and low in their efforts to discover the Father infinite is inherent in their limitations of comprehension. The absolute primacy of the universal Father is not apparent on sub-infinite levels. Therefore, it is probable that only the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit truly know the Father as an infinite to all other personalities. Such a concept represents exercise of faith. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to put a highlight there and stop right there because that's a lot to read. I could read more, but I'm going to stop right there for now. That's pretty insightful. That's pretty cool. I'm going to stop right there.